about to be live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here with us this afternoon for what ought to be a particularly thrilling game of Fury of Dracula, the New
Really?
Blood tournament brought to us by the League of Dracula. There's an electricity in the air, folks, a palpable hue of anticipation. Today we have an exciting twist for you today as a new challenger approaches. Events have transpired such that a tournament competitor has stepped down and another has stepped up to fill this new vacancy. Don't call it a comeback because he never went anywhere. A seasoned tournament veteran and a top-notch competitor, the legendary burcmali has entered the ring once again. But will his skills be enough to catch Fangs of Fire? Another old hand at the game who put forth a strong show in the previous tournament. There's only one thing I know for sure, and that's that this bout is going to be one for the ages. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Captain Gyro, and with me tonight is a very special guest, League of Dracula 2023 finalist, top-notch player, and terrific friend, JB Philly. Philly, what do you say?
Hey, well, first what I say is that was a hell of an intro. Did you write all that out? Was that scripted? Was that off the top?
That was prepared.
I thought it might be. That was quite
Thought I'd try
professional.
to put in the
I,
effort for
I'm
once.
proud of you. Well, that's more effort than I've ever put into one of these, so look, good on you. Golf claps all around. But yeah, happy to be here. In the middle of a work day. If you hear me sniffling or sneezing, I'm a little bit under the weather today, but I'm gonna do my best to give some cogent analysis, which will, not quite, but hopefully almost be on the level of that beautiful prose that you were just treated to by the one and only Sergeant Shawarma, Captain Gyro, Detective Donor.
Well, thank you so much for being here, despite how you might feel. I hope you're not feeling too under the
No,
weather.
it's nothing too bad, just a little loopy.
Good. Well, we had hired scouts while I was rambling on, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
the
the
only
game. Let's talk
discarded
about that.
event card. So no
Yeah,
Dracula cards
I
pulled.
think he searched with the hired scouts. I did not.
It was Naples and Sophia, I think.
Okay, okay, classic choices. Checking for the Bari start. Sophia, I don't know. I might not have. I mean, I suppose there's no reason why Dracula might not start there on a Varna start, but if it's me, I'd probably check more like Valona or Bucharest,
Yeah,
or Varna or Constanta, because he could be in either one. But Sophia's a possibility.
yeah, I don't know about. It might not even be the one he picked. I
Hey,
wish
yeah.
there was a log,
Oh well, hey, one of many features we could. Hey, local rumors.
but you could argue that's not really the game's fault. You ought to be paying attention.
Well, yeah, that's lower priority than I'd say some other things that if Nomad ever gets back to developing this thing, which, I think that your efforts at broadcasting, and all of our efforts at kind of recording and running these games are in a way towards maybe one bright day in the far future, getting some improvements made to this game, some bug fixes, some tweaks to the interface, a lot of things that we've all kind of thrown ideas about around, and I think Scott sort of even had some talk of starting up a Google Doc of sort of a list of requested changes that would improve the interface as well as bug fixes. Because basically the situation is this game is published by Nomad Games, and they don't really actively maintain it. Like, it's functional. There are some bugs which are very rarely game breaking, but can be pretty frustrating. But because there aren't that many people that play this game compared to some of the other things that they publish, they aren't dedicating. The product team has decided like this isn't where we're putting our focus right now. So there's no real improvements expected to be forthcoming. But if we can recruit enough players, if we get Fury of Dracula to become more of a hit, that might change, or we might get some fixes to some of these things, like people accidentally hiding when they wolf form because the interface makes it easy to misclick, or to bugs like the game freezing if a vampire ambushes on Speedy Telegraph or whatever it is. All these sorts of things. So all these videos that we're doing, all these recordings, anything that pulls in new players is gonna contribute to
Uh,
hopefully towards. Oh,
yeah, agreed. After the previous tournament, we definitely got a lot of new players into the Discord. I think there was hopefully some
yeah,
success there,
yeah.
and
I want.
hence
It's
the
I was
New
gonna.
Blood tournament. A lot of the players in this
Yeah.
tournament are some of the people who first heard about the game because of the old tournament, and now they're joining and playing for the first time.
Yeah.
And on top of that, Neither of those players are playing today. We got burcmali versus Fangs of Fire, and they're both seasoned tournament competitors at this point. New blood really hardly applies.
That's right. Yeah, I think
Nevertheless, they meet the qualifications. Make no mistake.
yeah, and I think part of it was that I'm sure that if Scott Sword, who of course organized this tournament as well as other ones, he's kind of a pillar of the FOD community. But I think that if he could have filled the whole thing up with brand new players, he probably would have just fit the name and recruit as many new people to get interest.
They
But
did have priority for signing.
they did have priority, but yeah, so then to fill in the spaces, some players from previous tournaments have joined. And basically, I think the qualifications were that they didn't reach the final stage of previous tournaments or something along those lines.
It was no finalists from the previous tournament, and also nobody who had a winning record. Nobody had a record of over 50%.
Oh, really? Okay.
Which, funny enough, Fangs of Fire had a record of exactly 50%, if I recall correctly.
Wow.
And my showing in the 2023 tournament was also 50%. It just so happens that I won 7 games before I lost a game, and
Wow.
that was enough to put me into the finals.
Wow.
Where I
Yeah,
proceeded.
you have.
I won. I think I won 2 games in the finals. Yeah, I won 2 Dracula games in the finals, and that was
You
it.
beat me because I know that I lost 2 games to Kachik, and I lost at least one game to somebody else. I think it was 1 game to somebody else, and was that you? I think it might have been you.
Yeah, I got away from you as Dracula, and then
Okay.
everybody else beat me. Besides, I beat you, and I beat Edward Scissorhands as Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But it just goes to show that really, a lot depends on fate in terms of how you're seeded in the tournament. And,
oh yeah, for sure.
that's just the way it falls out. And so we've got Fangs of Fire playing here instead of me. I love it, and I hope he wins. Nothing against burcmali. I hope burcmali wins too.
Good job. He's at the window.
Yeah, there goes all my objectivity. Nah, I'm rooting for both players to perform well. I'd be excited to see either of them win.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't have a dog in this fight, so it's not like I'm rooting for one to win so that I don't have to play against the other, or whatever it might be. Me, I'm just rooting for a good game. That's always that's always what I want to see.
Yeah.
A game that comes down to the wire.
This
one
should be
that's
a good one.
super close, or just one with some real flashy, ballsy, genius moves that nobody saw coming. That's always fun to see.
There was
commentary. Just go ahead.
Go on.
I was just gonna say, I guess one thing that we could try to do here is, the first week of the game's commentary tends to just be commentators running their mouths like we are, about whatever comes into their heads. But I think since this is the New Blood tournament, if we can try to focus our commentary on things that are going to be noob friendly, so maybe a little bit more explanation of sort of basic strategies and even game mechanics than we might normally, just so that new players or even people who haven't played the game before can watch this and sort of absorb some of that without us, just throwing around jargon that they can't.
Right, of course. So between the hunters, who are controlled by burcmali here, they have to find some way to figure out where Dracula is here, right? Because you can't do anything to Dracula until you figure out where he is first. But for every card you pull from the event deck, there's a chance it'll be a card that tells you where Dracula is, but there's also a chance it won't be. And if it's not, you need to save those for later. And that's where a lot of the interesting trade-off comes in, because the sooner you find him, the sooner he's found, but you're less well ready, less prepared to actually do anything about it. So we need to figure out where Dracula is so we can start clearing the cards off of his trail.
Yeah, but while they're doing that, while they're pulling those cards that they're hoping are going to show them where Dracula is, or at least where he's been, they're also picking up items which are what they need to kill Dracula, because hunters without combat items can't do much to Dracula at all. They have to be well stocked, they have to be well armed, and so that's kind of what the first week is. The hunters are just supplying. They're not moving around. They're not trying to find the trail by moving, because their odds of running into it that way just aren't that great. So instead, what they're doing is they're stocking up on items. They're stocking up on things that are going to help them move faster and more efficiently. They're stocking up on events that are going to help them, move more efficiently, do things to Dracula, get rid of his encounters that he's laid as traps for them. And at the same time, they're hoping to pick up these cards like newspaper reports, like hired scouts, things like that are going to show them where Dracula is or has been, and that's what gets them onto his trail. Not kind of moving around, just hoping that they bump into a city that he's been to.
Yep, even if you were to move around and by some miracle you happen to walk right onto Dracula, you'd be no better off for it.
You'd be worse
If you
off, though.
yeah, if you hadn't taken time to get some equipment with which to fight him, and that means items, but it also means events. Common mistake I think by newer players when they're playing the hunters is that once they have a full hand of event or a full hand of items, they think they're well enough supplied. Uh,
Hmm.
but a full hand consists of a full hand of not only useful items but also useful events.
That's right. That's right. And um, again, there are some key events that hunters can win without them, and can and do. But there are some high-powered events, things like renewed vigor, consecrated ground, and to a slightly lesser extent, things like forewarned, excellent weather, chartered carriage, heroic leap. I mean, there's 75 cards. There's quite a few, but all these cards are going to be a huge advantage to the hunters in fighting Dracula. So they really need to stock up on this stuff, and not just, like you said, move as soon as they have 3 items in their hand.
Uh,
Now, one interesting thing that we see is the rumor token went down on the second space, and what that tells me is that most likely Dracula has put something like a hoax in the first encounter space. Oh, there we go, newspaper reports.
Huge.
Okay, so that's
Bucharest.
there you go. Hunters didn't move. All they did was just draw items and draw events, and then they drew an event that told them where the trail is,
Seems
and now they know.
he's trying to take a little bit of advantage of Mina and Godalming are both in Germany rather than
Hmm.
both
Well,
being
actually, they
in
started. One
Hungary.
started in Vienna,
That's
which is
true,
interesting. Bit
but
of an
just one.
unorthodox start. But the reason there is that they can kind of easily scan Austria, Hungary, Germany, or Italy within one turn, and so Dracula kind of has to be cautious about entering any one of those regions because they never know when they might move and scan, and then Dracula suddenly is found.
Exactly.
But the downside of that, and one reason why people often start both together in Vienna, for example, is that not being in the same city means they can't trade as easily. And so, Godalming might be drawing all these good items, but he then has to spend a whole turn getting over to Mina to trade them off, and he might end up having to throw away good items too. So there's different schools of thought on this. I feel like I'm a fan of the Vienna start. Godalming and Mina, or possibly Godalming and Seward together in Vienna. Um, but I can see the argument for starting them in adjacent but separate cities too. But anyway,
It
so yeah, the first
it's
encounter. Oh yeah, go ahead.
it's a difficult situation because Lord Godalming is one of the most independently strong hunters, him and Dr.
Yeah, him and
Seward,
Seward. Yeah.
and yet you always kind of have to pair him with somebody else because he draws all
Right.
the good items
Right. Once
statistically.
he's stocked up, he can kind of go out on his own. But before he's stocked up, if he's just drawing alone, he's going to be throwing away knives, heavenly hosts, and horses left and right because he just can't hold more than 3 items.
Yeah, it's a good bet that this first card on the trail probably is a hoax. If it's not a hoax, it could maybe be a bodyguards.
Yeah,
Uh,
hoax and bodyguards
those
are
are
the
two
two
good
things. When you
ones.
see one encounter before a rumor like that, it screams hoax or bodyguards, because those are both cards that are good to mature. And your first encounter that you place, especially if you started in an extremity location, like in this case probably Galatz or Constanta, your first card that you place is the most likely card that's to mature than any other card that you're going to play as Dracula throughout the game. So if you have a card like a hoax, which is a very powerful mature, um, that's kind of your one opportunity to play a hoax and feel like it's got a shot at actually maturing is to play it on your very first space. So that's one reason. And bodyguards, that's another. It's just a nice thing to mature. It's not nearly as powerful as hoax, but it's a nice mature to have. And it makes the hunters kind of spend time chasing after that too. So if that does turn out to be a fighting vampire and they don't have a stake, now they've spent this time chasing after the hoax or their bodyguards, and they're gonna have less time to deal with that fighting vampire. So there's different reasons there. But yeah, they're on the move.
Thanks for
Um,
joining us, viewers in chat. Uh, feel free to ask, what do you want us to talk about?
oh
Would
yeah,
you
while you're
like
alive. Yeah.
anything explained, or have us talk about a particular subject? Or, I mean, who have we got? If anybody out there is new at the game, just let us know and speak up. Where do you think Dracula is right now? He's 2 cities from Bucharest. I think
I know.
Philly, you were onto something with 22. I think a lot of Draculas, what they might do here is start in 28, put your encounter down in 22 because it's nice and far away from the
Yep.
two closest
Yep.
hunters. And then that hopefully matures, and you move on to Bucharest and leave something there for them to deal with. The only thing I don't like about the rumored vampire in Bucharest is that since it is a big city, you can potentially have a hunter just sit there and supply for a stake, and then stake it. So I think vampires are best put in small cities for that reason. But can't have everything. And maybe it isn't even a vampire. Could be a trick.
That's true. Yeah, you very rarely see a rumor used on an encounter that's not a vampire because it is kind of a waste of a rumor token. Sometimes it can be used very well to throw the hunters off the scent, but when that happens, I usually see that done later in the game when, like, say Dracula's already got 7 influence, he throws down a rumor. That means hunters have to chase that card. They can't just go after Dracula and disregard it. But in the end, it turns out to be a bats or a fog or something that, you know, throws them off and wastes more of their time. So that's when you would tend to see a rumor used on a non-vampire card.
Agreed. Putting
I think it's
doing a false rumor in week 1, it's like you don't really have anything to gain from that. Because like you might as well just put down a real vampire. Unless the only thing I could think of is if Dracula didn't have any vampires, but he really, really wanted the hunters to think he did. But even that's kind of wacky. Galats, just like Keith said. Yep.
So yeah, one thing, again, for new players, one thing that often happens is we'll refer to the cities by their numbers or their names, and that can be a bit confusing if you're not familiar with the map. So I would recommend getting yourself familiar with the names of all the cities, because then when people kind of use numbers or names to refer to them, you won't be confused. Plus, it's a nice little lesson on European geography.
And who doesn't need one of those lessons?
Oh, we all do. We all do.
So let's see what happens here.
It doesn't seem to have horses, which
it's
is
possible. It's possible he doesn't. It's possible he does have a horse. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say if the ticket economy wasn't correctly prepared, sometimes hunters will hold on to the horse without using it, so that they don't risk losing it.
Yeah,
but he just took a chance on it with Dr. Seward, so maybe that puts the kibosh on that. He may have all the white ones.
Yeah.
Or he may be gambling.
And for viewers, if you don't know what we mean by white ones and horse economy, that's a key concept for hunters to know about and for Dracula to know about. So go on YouTube, search Fury of Dracula horse economy, and you're going to find videos by Scott Sword and by Quincy Morris that are going to explain that in depth. And go watch those videos. Once you do that, you'll understand movement in Fury of Dracula and how to do it properly. Oh!
Well.
Okay. Well, now.
That's a bold move, Mina Harker.
That is a ballsy move by Mina. She doesn't have an escape
Here we
route.
go, viewers. We've got some action.
And the way that we know that she doesn't have an escape route is because a prompt didn't pop up that said waiting for burcmali before this fight. So if that prompt pops up, it means that the hunter character has one of, I think, about 4 different cards that can be triggered before a combat, one of which is escape route, which lets the hunter just flee that fight without fighting. There's also planned ambush, which lets them kind of choose their first combat card after Dracula plays his. There's heroic leap, which lets them just do 5 damage to Dracula or a vampire. And
there's many combat hunter events, and because of the nature of the digital edition, there will be a prompt to prompt the hunter whether they want to use one of those events, which can give a skilled Dracula player some measure of information. This is correct.
Yep.
So we punched into Fangs here, so Mina's taken a bit of damage. It's not great.
Yeah, so the reason why Mina punched is because she was afraid that the vampire was going to use Mesmerize.
Yeah, that's sort of a 50-50. Yeah, he's either going to mesmerize or he's not going to mesmerize, and it's kind of just a little bit of a coin toss.
Yeah, so a lot of combat, like there is quite a bit of skill involved in combat here, but a lot of it does just come down to luck and guessing. And it's kind of a rock, paper, scissors situation where you really just have to guess what your opponent might do and play against what you hope they're going to do and hope that they do what you thought.
While I agree, there's one key difference between Fury of Dracula and rock, paper, scissors, which Quincy Morris pointed out to me. In rock, paper, scissors, your options are the same as your opponent's options.
Right.
So whether you win or lose just kind of feels random. But in this game, your options are different from your opponent's options. So whether you get it right or wrong, it feels less random. Whether it actually is or isn't, I think is true. But
I think there's certain scenarios where it essentially is rock paper scissors. Like
Agreed. Right,
the
right. I
the
absolutely get your point there.
yep,
I just
yeah,
mean in a larger sense. There's
absolutely, yeah.
the
No,
term
absolutely. The
Quincy
combat is
Morris
very
used was
sophisticated. Yeah,
asymmetrical matrix.
yeah.
And
The
I thought,
combat is
wow, what a
very
smart guy.
sophisticated in this game, so it's not a just an RPS guessing game. Okay, so
Nice.
you got him.
Take a look at
So
that, vampire.
Dracula was hoping to mesmerize Mina because then, if he could mesmerize her successfully, which he did not in this case, and then fangs her, she would get a bite and die instantly. And that's because,
Hmm.
unlike most hunters, she already has one bite. As you can see over on her, next to her health, she already has one bite, which means that a second bite kills her. So she's very vulnerable to fangs for that reason.
Mina
But
is the
Dracula has to
weakened hunter.
mesmerize her before that bite can happen. So he was going for the mesmerize, hoping that she was going to try to escape. But she went for the Heavenly Host, just guns blazing, hit him with that
Yup.
4 damage.
Yup. It's possible Dracula could have anticipated the Heavenly Host and thrown Fangs and gotten the kill on Mina, but
Yep.
Draculas rarely do that, despite how obvious it might seem. And the reason for that is because hunters love putting knife on Mina, because it protects her from Fangs, which is really necessary. If she ever gets mesmerized, she's just a Fang away from death. So it's not uncommon at all for Mina Harker to have a knife or even a garlic or a crucifix. So Dracula fanging her in round one like that would have been really, really bold, if he even had the fang, right? And then you have to consider that if he fangs into a knife or a crucifix and she still does have the
Ooh,
Heavenly
ooh.
Host, oh, it's so
Okay,
dangerous.
so he hit her with claws.
Yeah,
Which
she's hurt,
now
but she's
she's
fighting
in like,
back.
yeah. I don't know, man. That is as
This,
Mina. That's bold to stick around.
yeah, but
Maybe she was afraid of another mesmerize.
now Dracula's been hit for 7 damage,
He's
which
been
is
hit for
really
7,
significant.
which is very significant actually. And like honestly, it might not be the worst outcome for hunters if Mina dies here because so Dracula here can either try to kill Mina or he can try to escape his bat.
But he can't do both. He can
Yeah,
do
escaping his
anything,
bat
but
is
he can't
great.
do everything.
Escaping his bat is great because it lets him put some distance between him and the hunters. He can then wolf form to get even further away if he wants, or just move regularly.
But then he's giving up on killing Mina.
He's giving up on killing Mina, and he's throwing away the vampire that he placed there.
Oh,
So
that's a good
a big
point.
loss. Oh, he's going for. Oh wow.
Nice. Well, he
So
saw that
aggressive.
the knife had been played last round, so it was on
Yeah.
cooldown. So assuming she
is-
didn't have a second one, yeah.
Oh, well, we know that she doesn't have a second one because she's only got the one combat item
Right.
left after the Heavenly Host,
Right.
and she has a fast horses, and then she had a Heavenly Host and she hasn't.
Wow, this is a good fight so far. This is a
Yeah.
good game so far.
Okay, claws. Oh, I
That'll
think that's
kill.
Mina, man.
That'll kill.
She has a great strength. Nope.
No, won't save her anyway.
So Dracula gets 2 influence points out of this because it's only week 1, and dead hunters give more influence to Dracula the further the game goes on. So that's only 2 points for him, but he killed Mina. He got rid of a horse and a knife, which is big.
She has to go all the way back to 11. He got rid of a horse and a knife.
Yeah,
I
now
don't
he's
know
gonna
if she
spend
had
him-
any of. She had good luck, so it's going to get rid of good luck.
Oh, that's a shame. That's a solid event.
I mean, it's not a great
Oh,
event,
I'm sorry.
but
No, I thought you meant Lucky Find. Yeah,
nah,
that's a good event.
it's not a great event. But getting an event out of the hunter's hands is better than not. Nah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a bit of a trade-off because Dracula took significant damage there.
He
There's
did
no
take
denying
significant
it.
damage.
But a kill is a kill,
I think
so
Dracula,
it's sort of a wash.
I think Dracula came out on top of that, albeit not by that much, because now Mina's going to be spending the next like 3-4 turns resupplying. She's lost a knife. She's lost a horse.
And without
you'll look up fast
Mhm.
horses and understand horse economy. You'll understand why losing one of the fast horses is a big deal for hunters. It's a big
and
problem for
with
them.
Dr. Seward here and Van Helsing still far to the west, they've got
Yeah,
time to.
Yep, now-
Dracula has time to spare in the east.
there's a lot of time. To
All
just-
he has to worry about is
Yeah.
Lord Godalming. However, after having taken so much significant damage, Godalming could prove himself a threat if he catches Dracula, and maybe Dracula's a bad combat hand. I mean, he has
That's
8
true.
health. If you land a Heavenly Host and a knife, that's 7 damage. Now, that's not
Yep.
easy to do, but it can happen.
It just did happen. Yeah.
Right?
Um,
It did just happen. You're absolutely right.
No, I think
If he has a
the thing
planned
is-
ambush or something, it could be really bad.
For sure. Or even a heroic leap. So yeah, the thing is now Godalming though has to clear up this entire trail. So unless Godalming is gonna try to get Dracula, like I mean, maybe he'll get lucky and just land right on Dracula's space and kill him. But that's kind of hard to do, and you can't really count on that as Hunter. So Godalming is kind of stuck having to now chase after Galatz, chase after Bucharest, and you know what? Galatz could turn out to be a saboteur or possibly a Bats, something that's going to delay Godalming, meaning that now he can't even get to Bucharest and that thing matures.
And now,
Although,
yeah, now
yeah.
he would have to use an event in order to get to 22 and to deal with Galatz. And if that turns out to be a hoax, that could be really bad.
Yeah, the thing though is if Bucharest matures, it wipes out. So anytime a vampire matures, it also wipes out the 3 spaces in the trail ahead of it, which means that Sophia would get wiped out, including that new vampire. So it's kind of, I mean, normally you want to space your vampires out a little bit more, like space them out 3 apart instead of 2 after the last vampire.
But that vampire
Not
did
always.
good
I mean,
damage.
again,
He used that vampire as a
back-to-back
trap.
vampires. I'm actually a big fan of Dracula of back-to-back fighting vampires,
Go.
especially just to like
Go to your
eat up
spot.
all the hunter's stakes, give them a lot of problems to deal with. It can really throw them off.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a bad move putting
No.
a vampire there, but
No,
that is
not
the
at all.
downside. If Bucharest matures, you'll lose that new vampire.
Yeah, I like to put a few down too sometimes because then they go, all right, we deal with the rumored one, and now, shit, now we got to deal with another one.
Yeah, exactly. Or they burn up the stake on the first one, and now they got to fight the second one, especially if that first one was an aristocratic.
So
Now
let's
they really
see,
look at
what do
that
we
stake.
think, chat? Is Galatz a hoax, or is it bodyguards, or what do we think? What do we got
Oh
cooking
yeah,
over there?
yeah. Get the viewer engagement. I can't see the chat, but if there's any good comments in there, feel free to bring them in, so we can talk about them.
Uh, Snuffleupagus is asking, do you think using Heavenly Host early was a good call, or do you think she should have saved it in hopes of using Consecrated Ground later?
I think it was a great call. Hunters may not have consecrated ground, especially because they're kind of undersupplied. Like, still having 59 events left in the event deck when they're already starting to move is a lot. I mean, they haven't really supplied enough, so chances of them having CG are not that high. And 4 damage on Dracula this early. Again, he's down to 8 health. That's big. I think that's a trade-off that's well worth it. And, you know, by the time CG turns up, the Hunters may be through the item deck, and they'll have their Heavenly Host back for all we know.
I think anytime you can do that much damage to Dracula, I mean, you have to consider though that if she hadn't used the Heavenly Host, that would have meant she would probably have retreated instead of making
Well, that's
a stand.
true. That's true. Yeah.
And so she'd probably have lived. So we'd be in a bit of a different situation. But I'm gonna say that I think it's good to use it sometimes, because Dracula doesn't always expect it.
Yeah, okay. Dracula's health is like, as hunters, your goal is to get rid of those 15 hit points off Dracula. His health is pretty precious because it's hard to get back. Like, his only ways of getting health back are to feed, which burns up an entire turn, doesn't let him move further from hunters. Oh, there's a hoax. Okay, so that is a great development for Dracula, because what hoax does is it lets him go through the discard pile, look through all the Dracula cards that have been, all the Dracula events that have been discarded, pick one of them to keep in his hand, and then shuffle the rest of them back into the deck. So that does 2 things. It lets him keep a Dracula event, which those things can be immensely powerful. Some of them are, oh, he's already playing it?
Oh, he's just going right for it.
Holy
Ooh.
smokes, that's a card I would have held on to.
He wants to see Bucharest mature.
I guess
he wants to force
but
the vampire mature. No,
for a couple of reasons, I would have held on to that. I wonder if that was a misclick.
I agree. I think what he's done here is guarantee the vampire, but the problem with that, as you said, it clears the trail, and what it also does is it takes away all the decisions from the hunters. The hunters no longer have a decision to make about Bucharest and the rest of the trail. They simply have to decide, you know, to deal with the new cards now and to deal with Dragon. I think anytime you can put the hunters in a situation where they have to make the decision, there's a chance they'll make the wrong one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can also side with Fangs of Fire, though, because a guaranteed 6 or 7 points may be enough to win the game.
That's true. That puts him at 9 influence.
But since it's still so early, I don't know. It feels like one of those things where you might be at 9 or 10 points, but if they catch you in week 2 or 3 before you even get despair tokens, it's like hardly even matters.
Yeah. I mean, again, being at 9 is big, but he still has to survive long enough to get that last
And
4.
that card could have potentially made the difference between being
Right.
caught and surviving.
And so Darkness Returns does 2 things. One of them is it kind of gives you an extra move as Dracula, like it takes away the day phase, so hunters can't move at all on the following turn. So it essentially lets you move twice in a row without hunters being able to move at all. But it also shuffles. It does the same thing that Hoax does. It shuffles the Dracula cards back into the event deck. So using a Darkness Returns right after a Hoax kind of wastes half of the benefit of the Darkness Returns, because now you haven't shuffled anything back into the deck, and being able to stack the deck heavily with Dracula cards is great, because that puts that many more cards in between the hunters and the hunter events that they need to get. So that's another reason why I don't like to use Darkness Returns early or like right after a Hoax, is if you can use that later in the game when there's again a lot of Dracula cards in that discard, suddenly the event deck becomes this
that's an excellent point. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point, because a Hoax just matured, and Darkness Returns secondary effect essentially just acts like a Hoax again.
Yeah, so you only got half of the benefit of Darkness
Right.
Returns.
Let's say it's week 4 and Dracula has just like landed by sea, right? What's the worst thing that can happen for Dracula? Hired scouts, right? They hired scouts you, and then it's CG and you're dead. But if you have Darkness Returns and you play it, that reduces the chance that they're going to get that hired scouts, because now the deck is chock full of all the Dracula cards that already got milled out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good late game play to increase your
We'll
odds.
see how this pans out.
Yeah,
but
how will it work out for him? Because he has 9 points, which is a significant gain for Dracula, and he's also in relative safety right now. Vampire Lair.
And that's a great time to use it. When you have Vampire Lair, you use that thing early, and that way it's just done. You don't have to worry about getting delayed later.
Yep, get it out of your hand for a new event.
That cancels out the 2 points that Dracula got from killing Mina.
That's right.
Which is still, again, Dracula still gained a lot from killing Mina. They lost a knife, they lost a horse, they lost a lot of turns getting her resupplied. But those 2 points, again, could make a big difference.
Right, and we see that. I think I'm getting a little insight into Fangs of Fire's mind here, because it was an aristocratic vampire in 10.
Right.
Which makes a lot of sense, because 10 is a great spot to delay hunters, so you can get away to 55 or 46 or something. And that's why he played the Darkness Returns, is because it was just an aristocratic. They could have knocked it over just by looking at it funny. Harsh language would have killed it.
Yeah.
So he wanted to take his 7 points, be up to 9. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I feel like he's gonna regret not having that Darkness Returns later.
It's true.
Now we know that he's 4 spaces away from Sophia now. He probably went west. Not necessarily. Well, actually, I don't know. He could be down. He could be back in the Far East. He could be on the Black Sea coast. He could be down in Greece. Now, but if not that, then he almost definitely went west.
Yeah. It could be 49 to 3 or something. It could have even been like, he could have gone from 3 to 46.
And now we're gonna find some stuff out.
Yeah,
because
let's
they're gonna
learn.
check Munich. They're gonna check, I guess, Prague or something along those lines, and they're gonna know if he went west. Yep,
Munich
there it is.
It is. Classic wolf form to Munich.
And now Dracula's suddenly kind of like, oh shit, maybe I wish I still had that Darkness Returns in my pocket.
Yeah, because he could play it right now and go to Genoa or something like that. Or
getting found
get
right
lost
after
in the mountains of Germany.
Yeah, but like getting found right after wolf forming like that's a rough spot for a Dracula to be in, because now you don't get wolf form back for a long time, and the hunters are on your tail, and
they are really close. This could be curtains for Dracula. What do you think, chat? You're Dracula? You're Dracula. You just wolf formed to 38. There's hunters in 59 and 11. You're caught with your pants down. What do? Where do you move?
Interesting. He's investigating 38.
Right. Slow and steady wins the race. That might be the right move. Just cordon off Dracula, corral the Count.
That's true.
Yeah, get a psychic scan with Mina going. That's a good point.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so he used a planned ambush on this Reckless, which I probably would have saved that for Dracula himself. The thing about the Reckless Vampire is that when it ambushes, like it's happening now, If it uses Fangs on you and hits you, it gives Dracula 1 influence point, and those 1 influence can actually end up being very consequential. Like if it puts Dracula up to where he has to move 1 fewer day during the Fury of Dracula phase in week 4, that can make the difference losing a game.
It's much like Quincy Morris explained it to me this way. It's much like American football, where the difference between 6 points and 7 points is actually really significant.
Yeah.
And then if you get another 3 points on top of your 7 points, that's really significant. Like the numbers are thought out to interact with each other.
Yeah, and so because he used the plant damage, which again I wouldn't have done, but because he used it, the vampire just went ahead and mesmerized, knowing that Godalming was probably going to punch anyway, so that kind of just burned the planned ambush. And now they're back to square one, where Godalming still has to try to get away. The only thing that's good for him is that he knows the vampire only has 1 mesmerized left in the deck. So that's another way where the combat here is not like rock, paper, scissors. Like, the hunters can know Dracula's hand more and more as the combat goes on, because he uses cards once and then they're done. And Dracula...
Vampire's dead.
Yeah, vampire's dead, wow. And meanwhile, Dracula can know the hunter's hand by all kinds of different means. When he sees them in a fight, different encounters that he can play will let him see the hunter's parts of the hunter's hands, and just counting cards in the discard and so forth. Dracula can get a pretty good sense of what the hunters are carrying, and that's huge. Like Dracula in a fight, knowing what the hunters have, versus Dracula in a fight not having any idea who has what is a huge difference in who's got the edge in that combat.
Information is king.
Information is king. So that's a really good outcome for hunters. There, I mean, again, planned ambush. You don't like to lose that, but hey, he used to get rid of a reckless, and that's one less fighting.
No influence for Dracula.
I thought that planned ambush was a waste, but I think that actually turned out well for hunters.
Yeah, it worked for him.
So, checking cities 1 space from Munich, because again, Dracula can't move fast now.
His wolf form is on trail spot 2.
So unless he put down another vampire in those 2 spaces for Munich, that wolf form isn't coming back anytime soon. And now the hunters can kind of just, even though they only have 3 of them that are ready to be moving.
Make no mistake, though, this is still dangerous territory for hunters, because if they underestimate those cards on the trail, they could mature to Dracula's advantage. It's as you said, there could be a vampire, and then he gets his wolf form back because the hunter's overcommitted to trying to kill him.
Yeah, and then he's at 10 or 11 points. Either way, he's 1 fury move away.
And an escapist bat, and a vampire mature to get the wolf form back, that would be insane. We're not necessarily going to see that, but there's still a precarious balance here. The hunters.
Overall, I would rather see the hunters right now, but it's not over at all.
So Dracula wolf formed to 38, so it must have been from 49.
Yeah, had to be from 49, which makes me wonder why Van Helsing went to 53.
Well, it could have been 53.
What could have been?
That could have been the city that Dracula wolf formed from.
Right. Yeah. Oh, my bad. Yeah, I wasn't. Again, like I said, I'm loopy. I'm sick right now, so.
No, not at all.
Don't mind me.
So Van Helsing went and checked that, and now he's probably going to have him check 59 next.
Yeah, so he almost definitely went Belgrade. Well, he went to either Belgrade or Valona. That's 6 or 55. Then to 49. So they've got to check all those places. And now what's most likely going to happen is that it's going to be stuff like bodyguards, mobs, maybe wolves, maybe like a desecrated soil. Things that are just going to waste the hunter's time. But they have to check that stuff out in case it's a vampire, basically.
Yeah, we've already seen 3 out of the 5 fighting vampires. So...
3? I think it's just 2, right?
No, because recall that he cleared one of them with the rumored vampire. The one he fought Mino with in Sofia.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so that's both new vampires gone, and the Reckless was in Munich. So the chance... And there was an aristocrat...
Wait, hold on.
No.
There was only one new vampire.
That's right, because 10 was an aristocratic. You're right.
Yeah, 10 was an aristo.
Okay, so that's an aristocratic, a new vampire, and a Reckless.
Yeah, and there's 3 reckless vampires, 2 new vampires, and 3 aristocratic vampires in the deck.
So 2 fighting vamps gone, 3 remain.
Yep.
Chances are kind of slim that one of those 2 cards really is a vampire, yeah. But if it is...
You want to make sure.
Yeah,
okay, now
because you really can't afford to give up too many more points.
Now that move to Florence was interesting. I think he was guessing that maybe Dracula went to Venice and then went to Florence, and he was trying to
Right.
jump right into Dracula. But if he
Yeah.
did, I mean, I guess Seward maybe Seward has like a heroic leap or something. Um,
He's trying to check
like that-
where he thinks the extremity locations are, I guess, right? So,
yeah. Well, he just ruled out Italy, so we know that Dracula didn't go to Italy.
well, he could have gone from Venice to 25, or he could be hiding in Venice.
Well, that's true. He could be in Genoa. We're hiding in Venice, yeah. Um, but he's not gonna be going down the boot. So he did kind of block that off.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it does prevent him if he was in 25 or 57. It does prevent him from going to 20.
That too. And again, if Seward's carrying a heroic leap, that's that card that lets you skip the
But-
combat with Dracula or with a vampire and do 5 damage to him at the cost of taking 5 damage yourself. That's a great card to use with Seward because Seward heals up fast. Dracula does not heal up fast.
I think I
That
would have
get
rather checked 41 first. And then
I mean, yeah.
after that you can go, oh, he's heading to Italy or to 36 and then get him after that. But,
Yeah, 41 is an important check here. But at this point it's looking like it probably was 41.
I'm thinking so.
I think Venice is a lot less. Venice and then Genoa or Venice and then Hyde are less likely. Could be though. Could be.
Well, you have to think about like what's priority, right? Like what are the worst places he could have gone and check those first. Okay, it's a spy in 6, but he had dogs.
That's a great thing to play. Spies in
Nice.
the East are great.
Great
It's hard-
dog.
Yeah, love dogs, man. Love dogs. But yeah, spies are a great card that they knock a weapon out of a hunter's hand. The hunter has to choose to either discard a weapon or they show their entire hand, items and events to Dracula, and they lose their train tickets. And once again, look up horse economy, understand horse economy, then you're going to understand why losing train tickets can be devastating to hunters. So for that reason, hunters almost always choose to give up a weapon on a spy. But Van Helsing had dogs, which gets rid of the spy. And because the spy didn't ambush, Van Helsing didn't even lose his dogs. He gets to keep the dogs.
Yeah, good use of dogs to handle the Eastern spy. Eastern spy's a good spy.
Yeah, so now he just has to go check Sarajevo. And if he's lucky, maybe that'll be another encounter that dogs get rid of. Could also be a
Yeah,
desperate
wouldn't it be great if
soul.
it was wolves or saboteur? Yeah, I love
That'd be
that.
dope.
Or even rats. Yeah, I just don't know about going to 20 there, because like you have to think in terms of priority, right? If Dracula did go from say 38 to 57 to 20, like that's
where's 20?
fine.
Oh,
That's
parts, yeah.
fine. Where's he going after that? Rome
Yeah,
to
like
sea.
he's going to Rome, and then his only escape is
If
by
you have
sea,
chartered
and,
carriage, you can make use of a pretty decent rail line to chase him into Italy or even gang up on him. There's like
Yeah.
nowhere for him to hide in Italy. You can just, I don't mean like literally play the hide card, but like there's nowhere for
No, yeah.
him to obfuscate. You can just move right on to a spot
Right,
and
whereas
be like,
Central
oh,
Europe,
it's not 40,
yeah.
well then it's 5, like that kind of thing.
right? So
Um,
Central Europe has a lot of connections. So and now it's looking like he probably went to Nuremberg, and then now he's in
Yes.
northern Germany somewhere, possibly France.
But is burcmali gonna pick up on that?
Yeah, I mean he went to Marseille, and I don't know why, because how would
Please don't
I mean again
go
Dracula could have
to
gone to
Italy.
Venice, Genoa, Marseille, but I don't know why you go to Marseille without kind of confirming that first. Again, you got to check 41.
No.
That's
no,
not
no,
even
no.
a new location.
Too much
I
inefficient
would have put
moving.
Venice there if you're gonna start railing back up towards Germany.
There's the
Oh,
wolves,
wolves.
and
So
Dracula
now the-
correctly ambushing with the wolves here.
Yeah, so that kills the dogs. If the dogs get ambushed by an encounter that they cancel, the encounter still gets canceled, but the dogs also get discarded.
Right.
The
So
first
he
time,
at least
this
robbed
is
Van
not
Helsing
ambush.
of his dogs.
Yeah, so
Classic
RIP,
interaction
RIP.
there, really.
Yeah,
The
RIP to
dogs
some
working
noise,
on the nighttime search, followed by the Dracula ambush the next day with the other dog.
Yeah.
Dog.
Although honestly,
card.
as Dracula, maybe you still don't ambush because then it. Well, I mean, it burns up a nighttime action.
I don't
during
care.
which Van
I
Helsing
don't care
can
for
get
the
events.
sense of emergency.
Oh no, that was not. I don't. No, that was not a good use of sense of
No.
emergency.
You're blindly
Especially with
hoping to move on to Dracula, and even if he was there, you'd be in a fight with him now.
Yeah, unless she has escape route or heroic leap, but
Even then, that
no, I
wouldn't
think
finish
you
the
save sense of
job.
emergency for when you know roughly where he is, and you want to get somebody into it, or situations like that. But at this point, they should be scanning. Like they need to get somebody up to Germany to scan with Mina.
Yeah.
If anything, you
some
heroically or you sense of emergency over to another hunter who can then scan with
I
her.
don't want to be too critical, but this may be a little bit of mismanagement here by the hunter player.
Yeah.
That's
Also,
not
how did Mina get done? What did Mina get hit by?
sense of emergency.
Oh, duh! Wow.
Yeah.
See, once again,
She used sense of emergency to go from, I believe it was
I
11,
think it was all the way from
11 to
11 to 7.
7,
Yeah.
which is like, yeah, Dracula could have been there, but he also could have been in 27 with just the same number of moves. Or
Yeah.
he could be in 21 or 16.
Hmm.
Or he could have even hid in 44, and you might have moved right over him. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. They didn't check prod.
and
Yeah.
if you're desperate, you can sense of emergency and just hope he's there. But there's no good reason because you could have just spent a train ticket to go to 44, or I guess you might not have the horses anymore. I'm not sure, but
No. Yeah. She doesn't have horses
that's
now.
all the more reason to save the sense of emergency for because you don't have any other mobility option. You don't have horses. You need to save it.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. I mean, what the hunters need to do is they have to check Nuremberg. They really ought to have checked Venice with Seward, but then they need to get somebody, probably Seward, up with Mina so that they can start scanning regions.
Yeah, yeah. See, Mina could have maybe moved to 58 and then 38, and then they could scan. It's a little late to scan Germany, unfortunately, but
Yeah, you want to be scanning France at this point,
he
and
still
also like
could be there.
ruling out 44.
51, 44.
Uh-huh.
He moved to
So
20,
Dracula's
but he never checked Venice, did he?
no, never checked Venice. Which
Yeah.
again, that's instead of Milan, I would have gone to Venice with Seward just to know.
Yeah.
Because now I mean, hell, he could be moving to 20 right now if he hid in Venice, then went to Genoa.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, got a little ahead of himself, maybe.
I mean, or he could be hiding in Genoa for all I know. Like again, if he's got a fog, he might feel comfortable just hiding there. And honestly, if I were Dracula, if I were in 25, I would totally go to 20 now because hunters are less likely to check it now that they're like ruling out Italy. Another thing, so Dracula has been upgrading all of his cleared location cards into layers. What that does is it lets him take a card from his hand, put it on that location, and kind of leave that location in play, so that if hunters ever move onto it, they get ambushed by whatever is there. But also, Dracula can move back onto it and play a second encounter. So now, if he moves onto that location, it's like a super hideout. Hunters have to deal with 2 cards before they can clear it, or before they fight Dracula. So that can be just a way of cycling encounters out of your hand. Like normally, you don't play your rats on the trail. You play your rats onto lairs, then cycle them out, whatever, they get cleared later. And that's a way of not having to play your crappy cards. Or you can actually focus on using lairs as locations that you do return to. Okay. Well, so there was another
Oh.
long shot move, which this time it finally paid off.
Yeah.
And so now Gnoming is going to be delayed, but he has the chance
Yeah,
to.
but see,
slide it through.
that move I like a lot better because you're just taking a train. You're not using sense of emergency.
Oh yeah,
Going
for sure.
down
A train
a
ticket
card and
is
taking
way less
damage.
valuable than a. Okay, so Gnoming's got a rifle. He shot that saboteur in the face.
Nice.
Um,
But he is delayed.
but he is delayed. But that's again, he's losing his night move, so big whoop. I would have saved the saboteur and not ambushed.
So now we have direction.
Yeah, so he's next to Cologne. He could be in Amsterdam. He could be in Hamburg. He could be in
Brussels.
Frankfurt, or it could be in Brussels.
Oh goodness, another sense of emergency.
Holy sweet! Oh wow. Okay, so
but you don't
where's
know
he gonna get to?
if you're gonna get to Dracula or not, and he still has all these cards on the trail.
Yeah, where's he even get a sense of emergency to? I mean,
It's not that late in the game.
Oh,
Dracula's there.
My God. Okay, well.
Why
I
is
mean-
Dracula there?
Well, he's being sneaky.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I'll say.
Which I mean, honestly, that's sometimes these like wacky moves with like burning a sense of emergency. Sometimes
Yeah,
it pays off, I guess.
he like zigged and then he zagged so that
Well,
he
now,
could
yeah.
spend more time in Germany instead of getting out of Germany and then
Yeah,
go to like
which is what
he's
they
probably
wouldn't have
gonna go to
expected.
27 right after this.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, now they're gonna have. I think this is. I think
He's
Hunter's
been
never now.
found.
Because now Mina's gonna walk right onto Leipzig, and okay, she takes 2 damage from the reckless, whatever. that's a 2v1. One of those hunters being Seward, who's the strongest because he has 4 items. I think Dracula probably dies here.
And what is funny to me is if Mina had just moved to 58 and then supplied, or I forget the timeline exactly, but if she had just been in 58, or hell, even 38, sense of emergency would get you there. So,
Yeah.
like, but I guess it works out now.
That's
Because
wild.
now she can just regular move on to him.
Yeah, just a normal walk. I can't condone either one of those uses of sense of emergency. Like I don't think it was a good use of the cards. The guess about Leipzig after seeing Cologne, I think that was a canny guess
Oh,
because
yeah.
um
Burgmali
again,
has the
that's like,
Dracula detector just built in.
yeah.
He's
Yeah,
like,
I mean he's had a
Dracula is doing something sneaky. And he
yeah,
just
he had
knew
a
it.
he had a gut feeling. He was like, I bet Dracula is being sneaky, or he just wanted to rule out the sneaky thing, which is also worth doing.
Yeah.
Again, not worth using a sense of emergency on, but it worked out this time.
But
I guess the way to think about that is like this looks like a great move with a sense of emergency there, but just think about what if Dracula was not in Leipzig. Now you've used up 2 of your most
if
powerful movement cards.
Dracula did do the sneaky thing, if he had done the safe thing and just gone to Amsterdam or
Right.
yeah, or even
Yeah.
Le Havre maybe, like,
Yeah.
well, he couldn't be there yet, but
He couldn't be there yet, but yeah. But now, I think Dracula's gonna die here. Because Mina takes
could be.
2,
And it's
maybe 4 damage from this vampire.
and
But
then they have
they're
a
gonna
fight.
still be. I mean, if she takes 4 damage, then hunters are suddenly in trouble again.
And it's interesting because Mina is holding hypnosis. Oh, look at this
Wow.
crucifix! Take that.
So wow.
Mina is holding hypnosis, which and burcmali chose not to use it, which I think is smart. He was probably planning to use it like after Dracula went to sea and made port, maybe in week 3.
Although Dracula probably would have been, I mean, he was at such low health, he would be trying to avoid going to sea. But so the crucifix there, again, strategy tips. Normally, crucifix is not one of the stronger combat cards, so it tends to get thrown out. But its value is in that because it's not that strong, typically, it's not expected. Vampires aren't thinking they're gonna. Wow, Mina played that flawlessly.
Yeah, nicely played.
So,
I would disagree with you on one thing. I don't think it's not a strong card. It's that it doesn't directly damage Dracula in a team fight. It doesn't have the weapon
Well, that's what I'm saying.
properties.
That makes it not strong. Oh,
Oh,
wait. Why didn't they take the fight? Why didn't they take?
oh, he discarded garlic wreath. Oh my gosh.
Why didn't they take the fight? Wait. Also, what happened to right there?
I don't know. Maybe he just wanted the damage, and if he has the forewarned.
Wait, something mechanically happened there. Why did he discard it? Like, how did he discard it?
Okay, so the combat started, and it offered him 2 prompts to begin the combat. Use the garlic wreath or use the heroic leap, and he selected both.
I see. So that's, I mean...
So he put on his garlic wreath, and he took Dracula on with a giant leap. I love it.
Yeah, that's heroic leap. That's a powerful card. And again,
that's a heroic garlic leap.
But no, on Seward, that's a great card because Seward heals up faster. And again, now Dracula, he can only move 1 space. He only has a couple of possible moves here. Because we know that he went Nuremberg and then Frankfurt. Yeah, we know Dracula's trust. So Dracula can only go to
27
Berlin
or 7.
or Hamburg, or he can misdirect one of 21 or 41. So actually, hunters do have to check 3 locations.
Oh, burcmali saying, I have mistaken. It's possible
he didn't mean to throw away the garlic wreath,
to use the heroic leap, or it's possible he didn't mean to heroic leap.
The garlic wreath, I would imagine, is a mistake, but the heroic leap, it's not a bad move, but I would have just fought Dracula, because I think you fight Dracula 2v1, you kill him. Like, Dracula would have
I don't think it's a bad move either, to be honest with you, if you have the forewarned. Because you can have Godalming move to 27 and play forewarned on the fog, and then it's over. But if you don't have the forewarned, it could potentially be a mistake.
Yeah. Let's see. Godalming's got 1 event. Seward's got 1 event. Mina's got hypnosis. So actually, the odds of him having forewarned are not good.
Because if Dracula stands still and feeds, that's GG. If Dracula moves to 7 and Godalming checks 27, that's GG. Like,
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot for Dracula to do here after he took that heroic leap. So maybe that wasn't a bad play. Seward played it, and Seward heals really fast.
Yeah.
So he knew that he would play it during dusk, and then at night he'd heal for 2. So effectively, it was only 3 damage on Seward.
That's true. That's true. Now Dracula's in a horrible spot, but again, if Dracula's got a fog, the hunters are very unlikely to have forewarned. So if Dracula moves to 27, plays a fog, now he gets to feed into that fog for free, so he's back to 5. And he's still in a bad place, honestly, like, because he can
no joke.
So hunters are still, I'd say, heavily favored here. But I do think that not taking the fight was what he means by the mistake. Because he would have killed Dracula almost for sure. Okay, so he misdirected Nuremberg. So now the hunters know that he's going to be in either Nuremberg, Berlin, or Hamburg.
I mean, it depends on his items, because Dracula had 7 health. I mean, there's a chance he didn't really want to take that. It depends on the items. Seward threw away a garlic wreath. Mina has a crucifix.
Yeah, we don't know what else.
Maybe he doesn't want to expend his heavenly hosts and lose access to his consecrated ground.
True.
I mean, if Dracula fangs somebody while they're heavenly hosting, not only are they out of the fight, Dracula gets the heavenly host and 2 health.
Yeah.
And then it's like just him and Mina now, potentially. Right? Like, I'm thinking worst case scenario, maybe. And Mina doesn't have anything to stop Escape his bat. And there's only 1 despair token on the board, so Dracula can get away in round 3.
Sure.
I mean, it's possible
There's a lot of ways that could have
a
gone
fight can swing in Dracula's favor like that.
Okay, so he did not go to Hamburg. Now he has to decide, does Seward take a little walk with his 4 health into an unknown location?
And he did misdirect the city after Munich, but did he actually go there?
Oh, he went to Frankfurt. Why did you go to Frankfurt?
Why'd you go to Frankfurt?
I think he miscalculated the trail there. He didn't realize that it was Nuremberg.
Maybe he wants to deal with this reckless, but I don't know why.
I mean,
Dracula's at 2 health.
Yeah, no, you forget about the trail at this point. You kill Dracula. That's the only goal.
Yeah, he should have moved to Nuremberg.
I think he didn't realize that Nuremberg was the misdirected location.
Right.
Well, that's good for Dracula. Because Seward could take some damage. I mean, Seward could, in theory, die here.
Seward could die here.
Seward's only got 1 combat item, and it's a garlic.
And he threw away his garlic wreath.
Well, Seward can't die here now. Well, he could, but it's very unlikely. Because garlic plus dodge...
It's pretty unlikely, but yeah. I mean, he could take double claws.
Yeah, double claws is the only thing that can kill him here. But still, he's going to be beat up. He's going to be back to 4 health. With no items in his hand. Like, all he's got is a freaking garlic. So now, suddenly they're...
Yeah. Mark pointing out... go on, sorry.
Oh, no, yeah, suddenly the hunters are, again, like...
Successful plotting here.
Dracula, and if they do, he's probably dead, but now they're a step behind with checking locations.
Mark in the chat pointing out that it's... Really, Dracula can't escape IC at 2 health anyway. So why would he even go to Leipzig? But... Yeah, I mean, or Hamburg, yeah, excuse me.
Well, because if he has a fog, he puts it down.
Yeah.
He triggers it, he feeds under it.
But still,
he's still in a horrible spot then.
Yeah. I think I would have gone there if I had the fog.
Maybe what he does there is like traps a hunter in the fog with him, fights them to escape his bat. I've done that more than once.
Yeah. Maybe you can even sneak a Fangs in.
Yeah, so now here the thing is, if Dracula has claws, he plays it because it's a guaranteed hit of 2 damage on Seward. Because plotting, the fact that he got a plotting off lets him cancel any basic combat card that hunters can play, which is punch, escape, and dodge. And Seward has to play one of those now, so no matter what he does, even if it's a dodge, Dracula can cancel it and let those claws get through. Wait.
He's gonna go for the Fang instead.
He forgot about the garlic wreath, dude. He forgot about the garlic wreath.
No, he's not wearing garlic wreath.
No, he is.
No, he's not.
Oh, no, he's not. What am I even saying?
Oh, he is.
Wait.
He had another garlic wreath?
He's not playing. He's not holding garlic wreath. Oh, wait, no, he is. What the
I didn't... What?
I guess he either forgot about it or he just really wanted the victory point, which actually, fair. more
I
VP
didn't
as well as
realize he was
good.
wearing a he had 2 garlic wreaths and a garlic.
No, I think he only had one.
But he used it up. He used it before he heroic leapt Dracula.
Yeah, I thought I saw it displaying in the combat screen, but that must have been wrong because there's only one in the
No,
discard.
I didn't.
There's only one in the discard, so he
Yeah.
must not have. Wait, then why did the vampire die?
Did it still think he was wearing garlic wreath? The game thought.
I'm
I suspect, if I was
lost.
paying attention correctly, and I didn't miss anything, I suspect it bugged, and he was like, he was still like lingering wearing the garlic wreath effect because he used it awkwardly
Yeah,
to heroically
that's
Dracula. That's just a guess. I'd have to go back and watch it to
that's very
tell for
strange.
sure what happened. But regardless, the Reckless died, but he did get his point.
Yeah, this point, which it's not a crucial point because it's still the crucial points are the ones that make it so that you're increments of 3 away from 13. So a crucial point would be going from 6 to 7 or 9 to 10. This was 7 to 8, so not a crucial point, but again, maybe you never know how these things add up. Like a couple of more fights, combat, a lot of things can advance the trail. So
Yeah,
every point helps, even if it's not that one critical point. Maybe a later one will be because of this one.
right, exactly.
Now Mina's got to decide: does she walk into Nuremberg? Does she walk into Berlin? Which I would say Dracula's more probably in Nuremberg, just because that leaves some more movement options. But by the same token, you might as well go to Berlin because that's a less likely place for you to be. Therefore,
Well, with
there's a lot.
Misdirect on the trail, he'll either have to hide in Berlin or he'll have to move to 44.
Right. So yeah, Berlin does restrict you. So Nuremberg is a better move for sure, and that's why she's checking it. And sure enough,
And
he went there.
that's where he went.
Oh, and there's the fog.
Mm-hmm.
So now Dracula can feed, get his health back, and then he's gonna have his wolf form back. Oh no, he can't feed.
Nah, it's
It's,
inland
it's not a
fog.
sea. That's the thing about fog is it keeps you safe once if you play it on land, but
Yeah,
it does not.
a port city
Yeah.
gives you 2 fog tokens.
Right. A port city gives you 2 fog tokens, which then lasts an extra night, so you can feed under it without hunters being able to move in.
But
Um,
when you are
I
landlocked, you don't get
wonder.
that.
I kind of wonder. Yeah, he chose not to fight Mina, which is obviously smart because he's got only 2 health. But the chance to escape as a bat there, I kind of wonder if maybe that might have been his one chance to survive.
Yeah, it doesn't let you. What I wish it would do is before you have to choose as Dracula, you can check the discard pile, because then he could have looked at the discard pile and seen that, well, there's no rifles in the discard pile. There's only 1 knife. Like, she could be
Oh,
packing
well.
a rifle or a knife.
Well, on that topic, if you're in a tournament, in my opinion, you should be keeping careful track of all that. You shouldn't have to look at the discard pile. You should have that in front of you on paper so that you know exactly what's in and what's out. So that's something again for new players. If you want a nice little card counting resource, I made up a sheet. I got
Not
it printed up on
everybody
the-
likes to take notes, Billy.
Well, and that's hey, listen, that's honestly, I think that is a if you have a fantastic memory, maybe that works. But
To
I don't
be
think I would've
honest
made
with
it.
you, like, while I don't have any problem at all with people taking notes, like, I really don't. I think there is kind of a little skill involved in just kind of trying to keep all that in the back of your mind as Dracula.
I mean,
I think that's not unfair to ask especially when you're playing at the tabletop with other people. Like,
well, the
I would
tabletop, you can look at
never.
your file whenever you. Well, no,
Yeah,
'cause at
yeah.
tabletop, you look at the
I
file.
would, if I started taking notes in front of my friends, they would get so mad at me.
Well,
They
sure,
would
but
be
again,
they would be like, that's cheating. And while I don't agree, to be clear, I can totally understand that perspective.
well, yeah, I think it's different in person. One, because you can look at the cards whenever you want, but two,
Too, yeah.
because a tabletop game has a different vibe than like a cutthroat competitive tournament game like this.
Absolutely, absolutely.
When you're sitting
Note
around with friends,
takeaway, to be
Yeah.
clear.
yeah, when you're sitting around with friends shooting the shit, it's a different environment.
But I think
I have to have notes. I mean, I take notes on the trail when I'm the hunters and when Dracula. I'm writing down what I know every hunter has, and I have a sheet that's laminated so I can use highlighters and then wash it off after every game, where I highlight off to like cross out things that I know have been discarded. Therefore, I can rule down what's still in play and like what they might have in their hands. And like when the deck resets, I can then write down, okay, this is what their inventory is. I know they have this many knives, this many Heavenly Hosts, and that way I kind of know how to account for what every hunter has. And that having that amount of information makes a really big difference in combat.
Yeah.
So that's why I said, like, I don't think, Dracula doesn't need the opportunity to look at the card deck, because in my opinion, you should be counting. But anyway, that's my opinion.
I'm not gonna lie though, there's something really impressive about a Dracula who's like, oh yeah, I remembered you had that rifle because of that saboteur during week 1, and now it's week 4, and he's like, yeah, I remember that.
Oh sure, I mean, remembering
that's pretty impressive skill.
Yeah.
I think that's a skill in and of itself, at least. And I don't think it has like no good place at the table.
I think you do want to be able to remember things, but for me, like, I can only remember so much, and this game is so heavy with information that I like to write down the things that I know I can systematically keep track of, and that way I have memory bandwidth left over for...
My spy told me he has a knife, but then he traded with Seward, so maybe Seward has a knife, but then the deck reshuffled, and it gets really befuddling, and it's fun, and usually somebody makes a mistake somewhere, and if somebody can capitalize on that mistake, it's really exciting and fun to see.
Yeah, like all the trades that happen, I can't possibly keep notes on that. I feel like Wakachuk probably just does remember all that stuff, or a lot of it. I don't even bother trying to write that stuff down, unless, like, I'll put a question mark next to a rifle if, like, I know that... Ooh, so Munich is a lair.
Yep, that's going to hurt the old man.
Which means Van Helsing has to get hit by his bodyguards.
I am sure even Wakachuk takes his notes.
I'm sure he does, but in terms of all the trades, like, nobody can write down all of that shit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've thought before about keeping like a little diary, where it's like day 1, Monday, Dracula does XYZ, bodyguards found in Munich. Like, just keep track of everything that happens.
That would be fun. But yeah, anyway, for new players who are interested, I do have these like Google Doc pages that you can just print out. It cost me $6 to get them printed and laminated at my local print shop, and they're reusable every game, so I would recommend that as a tool for anybody who wants to get really good at tournament play, because again, it takes mental load off, so you don't have to think about all these things. It just takes that out of your brain, so your brain can focus on the other parts. Yeah, anyway, this is GG. I don't see how to go this way here.
Yeah, this is gonna be tough for Drac.
The fact that you know that she has a crucifix is bad.
That's it. That's game.
That's yep. So that's the thing. He was afraid to Fang because of the crucifix, but Heavenly Host kills him. Yeah.
What a game. Went very back and forth. Dracula started with some advantage, and then there was a heavy combat, and just like the game began between Mina Harker and Dracula, it ended between Mina Harker and Dracula with Heavenly Host, just like in the last one.
Yeah, that's interesting, because typically, again, oftentimes you don't want to have Mina carrying Heavenly Host as hunters, because it makes her vulnerable. Because of that thing where you get a bite if you misplay a Heavenly Host and Dracula fangs it. You don't want to have Mina carrying that, because that's a card that she's carrying that can just get her killed one shot. But that also means that Dracula expects Mina not to have it, so therefore her having it can be kind of like a crucifix, can be like a nice surprise that you can pull out of your pocket and spring on Dracula and get him.
And it got him this time.
Yeah, it got him twice.
That's curtains for Dracula, ladies and gents.
But yeah, that early fight made a big difference. Like after that fight, I was saying I thought Dracula came out on top of that, and I think that's right. But I don't think that he capitalized on it fully. Like, the wolf form was good, but wolf forming 2 Munich is a pretty easy check for hunters to do. So I tend to try to wolf form over Munich. And of course, it was just bad luck for him that hired scouts got drawn right away and they just checked Munich. But
that's the way she goes.
Yeah. That was a fun one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I hope our commentary was like intelligible to new players who may be watching.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed. Thank you for watching, everybody. Yeah, thank you for joining us. It was a good time. Two solid players putting up a good showing.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for live streaming.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. All right, everybody. That'll be it for today. Thanks again for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right.